In this video, I'm going to explain to you the difference between vector versus bitmap programs. In Adobe Illustrator, it is a vector-based program. So the objects that you create in Illustrator are vector. They can apply some bitmap images like the drop shadows. So those are effects that you pop in. So really anything that you do from this filter area in Illustrator are bitmap. Photoshop, the program Photoshop, let's jump over to Photoshop, is a bitmap program. So everything you do in Photoshop is bitmap unless you get down into here and then you're dealing with some of the vector objects. So each program has bitmap and vector capability. If I draw a circle in Illustrator and then I zoom in on that circle, you can see this circle stays nice and clean. This is at over 2000%. And if I view it now at 6400%, it doesn't get any more ragged or distorted. It's still a nice clean edge. If I go over to Photoshop and I create that same circle, and then I zoom in on it, here we're at 502% and we're already starting to see the pixels. Pixels are squares that give us a visual representation of the circle. And these grayscale images, instead of them just being black and white, it throws in some gray area to give your eye the representation of a smoother transition. There are settings you can make in Photoshop to have no gray, and then you'd look like you had perfect stairs, and your eye would pick up the fact that it's not made nice and smooth a lot easier. So Photoshop images are bitmap. When you're dealing with photography and photographs, you're editing these images and these pixels. When you go into Illustrator and you're dealing with circles or logos or type, they would be clean and easy to read no matter how big or small you make them. You wouldn't want to do a large logo on the side of a building or a billboard in Photoshop if it had started out in Photoshop, because it would be really difficult to create that kind of resolution that big if you started there. Most logos would be started in Illustrator for obvious reasons. I can go big or small and make that size difference. That's not to say you can't go big in Photoshop, but it takes a lot more work and a lot bigger file size to get those enough pixels to keep the resolution down, so you're not actually seeing these pixels when you go big. So I hope that explains the difference between the two programs, and I'm sure as you learn both of them, you'll figure out which program you should use for which purpose.